Hello, everybody. Greetings and welcome. This is Suzanne Goulet, and today I'm going to be talking to you about A Course in Miracles. This is my copy. As you can see, it's pretty much very beat up and it's used, and there's reasons for that. The original copy of A Course that I started with was the navy blue one. All of you probably have that as well. And this is a different version. It's not that it's very different. It's just that it came earlier and it's unedited. And the blue version has gone through a number of edits where they took some things out that the publishers felt the audience didn't need when, for those of us who are purists and passionate about the text of this course, we wanted to see everything that was received by Helen Schuckman, who's the channel of the course. She refers to herself as a scribe. If you are joining me, if you want to give me a wave or hello, that would be great for me to see that you're here. And so this is one of the first meetings. I'm deciding that I'm going to have a meeting every Sunday at noon Eastern. So this is going to work well for me. I think Sundays are a great day for us to kind of step up our spiritual practice, our spiritual studies, so that we can learn more, continue learning more. This shouldn't feel forced to you. I personally have constantly had a hunger for information and knowledge from the other side, from the divine. So my spirituality has been part of me since I was a really little girl, growing up Catholic, and I went through quite a lot of transformations after leaving home and studying some other spiritual practices or kind of institutions, but I always kind of came back to home, which was my sort of Christian beliefs in many of Christ's teachings. So when I came across the Course in Miracles sometime, when was it? In the mid 90s, I just latched onto it immediately. As you all probably know, this text is delivered to us from Christ, and everything is in alignment with what we learned. However, he does go through some corrections, of not what he said, but how it was misinterpreted. And this has been really helpful to me. So your spiritual studies are not just to pass the time. They should be feeding you so that you come to a place of peace. You come to a greater sense of awareness of what's going on in your life and how it's affecting you, and you're looking at that from a new perspective. And for all of us in these times, there's a tremendous amount of pressure on all of humanity. I don't have to describe very much more than besides the pandemic and political situations and the uprising of quite a lot of anger from various factions and the infighting in countries, it's not a beautiful picture. And the Course will teach us that the earth has always been this way. And the most important thing for you to be doing really is to be focusing on your own salvation. And as you do that, you will be helping to uplift humanity. And I'm a really strong believer that's so important. So although we want to give our time to causes and we want to engage, it can be tempting to want to engage in the battles that you're going to find on social media. I'm going to encourage you to pull back for your own mental health and focus on your inner world. Focus on what's going on in your immediate world so that you can understand how you have created the projection that you're experiencing. The Course is really clear about the world that the life that we live is a manifestation of what we project. It's what they were the first ones to say, this is your illusion, and it is illusory. And as you continue your studies in the course, you're going to understand much more about what that means. And once you understand how it is an illusion, you're going that you have created, you're going to understand how to shift on the inside so that your illusion on the outside can shift as well. Now, as years pass, so much has come out from these teachings, including, the law of attraction and people taking some seeds of what the course was offering and creating, areas of thought where, you know, manifestation of what you need in the world was a really it was highlighted and focused on what should someone focus on. And the course is pretty clear. It has kind of an opposite approach. It really is a manual to get you to kind of remove all of your barriers to everything that you could receive. And then you will feel these really strong impulses to act on certain things. And this is the impulse from God. This is a directive from God, from your soul. I I don't use those two words interchangeably, but what I do want to say is that God has created all of the souls, and between God and the souls is open and clear and direct communication. There used to be open and clear direct communication between God and humanity, but we have shut this off. And the Course refers to us as the Son of God, really kind of the offspring. We are a manifestation of God's creation. And this is what the Course wants us to return to, being and understanding. And once you arrive to the understanding that you're an extension of this powerful force, your whole life will shift. Not because, the light bulb went off, but because you're going to see things from an entirely different perspective. Not only that, you're going to realize who you really are. And the illusion does change. And you're going to start to have experiences that are truly, truly miraculous. I was going to say magical, but magical is not the word. It's a word that you would understand, but this is not magic. This is law. As you connect with the higher and flow that through as you're being directed to do, your illusion purifies, you purify, and your illusion shifts and changes. Okay, so before I go on much more, what I want to do is an overview of the course so that some of you who are new have come to the group with the understanding that, oh, I've got 365 lessons to do. Yes, however, before you even engage in the lessons, you have to have some learning, you have to have some teaching. The lessons are really the practice. You have to learn through the chapters, and when you complete the chapters, then you can go on to the lessons, and they're going to make a lot more sense to you. I too started with the lessons back in the 90s, and then, I started with a few of the chapters, and then sort of stopped and went into the lessons and paused here and there. No, we are here to get a little bit more serious. The time is ripe for us to be getting a little bit more serious about our spiritual studies. We have been dabbling in quite a few various fields or faiths, and it's even been predicted that at this time there would be a great spiritual awakening, and you're probably feeling yourself that it's time for you to deepen your learning, to deepen your practice, to deepen what you have already learned and take it further and take it higher. And I hope to be of assistance with you with that. Okay, so first, let me explain to you, I'm working with the Course in Miracles, Your Text manuscript. It's called, let me see if I can bring that a little bit closer. And you can pause the video if you want to see about that. And this is considered the unabridged version. This is considered the version that is made up of putting all of Helen's notes together. And yes, in the version that's published by a Foundation for Inner Peace, they did go through and do some editing, but I don't want you to focus on that. I just wanted to explain to you those basics, and there's been a lot of there was legal battles, and it's now not copyrighted material, and that's what we need to know. It's not copyrighted. The Course in Miracles, Your Text manuscripts are uncopyrighted material, which means they can be freely shared. And I think it was probably designed that way. Okay, so let's see. If you're listening to this as a replay and you have any comments, or if you want to ask any questions, please do so. And after the video, I'm going to go through the comments and see what questions that I can answer. So first of all, let me explain. In this book are 3 volumes. The first volume is referred to as the text, like this. Okay. Now this text is made up of 31 chapters. And each chapter, I don't know, I want to say it's like 10, 20 pages. It depends on the format that you're using. And within each chapter, it's divided into sections. So it becomes really easy for you to do your studies because you can just do a section a day, right? Let me show you an example. Okay. This is chapter 7, and it's called The Consistency of the Kingdom. And if you notice up here is where the chapter starts, there will always be an introduction, and then there will be the first section, which is section A, starting here and continuing there. I think I'm going to just go ahead and teach from here today. And then the next section, I'm going to keep a post-it there. Okay, so then the next section is called, and it is referred to as the workbook for students. And very simply, this is trying to hold my place. It's falling apart for a reason. I'll explain to you that later. Okay, yeah. That's the workbook for students. And then finally is the 3rd volume, which is called The Manual for Teachers. And there's actually 4 in this book, which was separated out and became a separately published book called The Song of Prayer. But the Manual for Teachers I have found to be really, really powerful. I think everyone should get that far and read the Manual for Teachers, because you're going to end up being a teacher, whether you choose to or not. You're going to start talking to people, and you're going to start sharing his principles, and they're going to start listening to you. And this Manual for Teachers is really quite powerful. And it's not that long, and you will be grateful for it once you get into it. And then there is a 4th volume in this version of the Your Text manuscript, which is the Song of Prayer. Helen became very poetic in what she was receiving while she was doing this work, and wrote a lot of beautiful material outside of the course. Okay. After all that, I lost my place of chapter 7, but I'm going to go back to it because this is where I've left off on the video recordings. Okay, so that's the overview of the course. The second thing I want to cover for you is what I have been doing in the background, and that is recording all of the chapters. In the past 3 years, up until this year, so in 2018 and 2019, I recorded 17 of the 31 chapters. And then because of my travels, I always seem to be in places that were too noisy, and I want to have a really high quality audio recordings. I'm telling you this because these audio recordings will be available to you at some point when they're ready, but it's a massive project. It's a multi-year project, and I'm committed to doing it at a 4-star professional level because I've worked in the film industry for 22 years. I know what it is to have a good microphone, good audio engineering, good editing, and good output so that you're going to be listening to the best that's out there right now. And I've listened to other versions that were recorded, and they're from, I don't know, I want to say like the late 70s, and the voice is of a particular nature. It's an older gentleman, and his reading is very authoritative, and I personally could not listen to it. I couldn't. And then, I just couldn't listen to it. So when I came across your text manuscripts and started reading that, I recognized that Christ's voice in A Course in Miracles in this version is so friendly and so kind and so compassionate, especially with encouraging Helen to keep moving forward and to not be afraid of what she was receiving. And it became this beautiful friendship. And so, as my love for the course grew, I recognized there was a need for an audio version in a woman's voice. And the reason for that is that I believe women are extremely busy and multitasking because that's how their lives are, right? They have jobs, they are usually the primary organizer of the home, the interior of the home with all the shopping, and in charge of like what's the meals, often there to be raising the children, and multitasking constantly. I don't have to explain that much. Laundry, cleaning, meals, shopping, also managing the relationships and the emotions of the members of the household as well. There's all kinds of alternative households, but what I was thinking was women are most likely going to digest the course if they can listen to it. If they're going to need to sit down and read it, it's going to be taking a lot longer because some women have time to read, but quite a few don't. Or if they do, they're reading some light material. So those were my very powerful motivations to record the entirety of the course. So let me continue. I had already recorded 17 chapters doing, one, a few sections here and there, and then over the course of a month, a chapter would be recorded. It takes that long. And then I was in Assisi, Italy, and COVID hit, and we were in lockdown. And suddenly, it was so quiet everywhere. You could hear a pin drop. You really could. And for the first time, my apartment was quiet because the traffic on the street was gone, wasn't even happening anymore. So I clicked into gear, and over the course of those, let's see, 2.5 months, I recorded the rest of the remaining chapters, which was quite a few. 17, quite a few. 14, 15, I recorded in 17 or 18 days. So This was really a huge job and elevated and catapulted me mentally and spiritually into an entirely other plane because you can't just read the words. They need to be delivered and they need to be delivered correctly. And in order to deliver them correctly, you have to understand exactly what is being said. And that's where I got. It was an extraordinary experience. So fast forward to where I am now. I got a few assistants to help me do the editing because they just don't get put out like that. There was numerous stops and starts and various takes on several of the tracks. So I have been cutting. I cut consistently a half hour a day every day now. Sometimes I have assistants and sometimes I don't. And I'm now in the middle of chapter 23, which gets us really, there's light at the end of the tunnel here. And I know that you're asking about these things. I'm going to ask you just to be a little bit more patient. Okay? So let's see. Now, I've covered what the course is. I've covered the couple different versions that there are. I've covered the various books or volumes that are contained in the course. I've covered that it's more important for you to start with the chapters and keep moving along consistently. And when all of the chapters are done, then you can go into the lessons. I've covered the work that's going on here in the background, which is including the audio recordings of the entirety of the course and also that they're being edited. And I'm up to chapter 3. Okay, if you have any questions so far, let me tune in. No, everyone's ready to go. Okay, so let's get into a little bit of teaching, and then I'm gonna cover what I feel needs to be covered here in chapter 7, and then I'm gonna share with you also that I have available for anyone who is seeking some private support. I just recently hit the reset button on my practice to be able to receive more clients privately. And so I will tell you a little bit about that so that if you are someone in need at the moment and you're struggling and you've been struggling with the same situation for a long time, and you just can't seem to find a way out and talking to your friends or your family just isn't working anymore. The traditional therapy model isn't working for you anymore, and you really want to catapult yourself higher, and the things that you have tried haven't gotten you there, or other things that you've tried haven't gotten you there. This is what I would love to help people with. It's what I specialize in. It's all that I do in terms of the clients that I've worked with, almost all consistently in that kind of situation. And it's a calling. It's a calling from your soul to go to the next level. And almost all of my clients are also students of A Course in Miracles. So this is a very, very specialized kind of coaching because you really won't find very many other Course in Miracles teachers that are also coaches there and available for you to help you, not specifically with learning the course, but specifically with how the course is integrating into your life and what it's calling for out of your life. This is where I really excel because I have lived all the changes that the course has been instigating and prescribing, and they're extraordinary. I do live in an extraordinary life. Right now, I'm in Florence, Italy. I chose to come here, or I was impulsed to come here during the COVID pandemic year. I mean, I finished quite a bit of stuff when I was in Assisi, and then the borders started opening up again, and I felt the impulse to come to Florence, and I am so happy here. And the reason I chose this is going to be also temporary, is because there's no tourists here. It's empty except for just the locals and the Italians, and it's a completely different vibe. Everything's really clean and polished and available for you to go through without hardly anyone else there, and it's really special. So I am thanking God for the direction that I was given to be able to come here and experience this. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity and experience. And I'll be ready to go once the tourists come back, whenever that will be. I'll be on to my next location. And I'm not, the reason I'm sharing these kinds of things is because when you live from your soul and you live with a tremendous amount of faith, and you know that everything that you experience is a reflection of who you are on the inside, you begin to have far more courage and strength in acting on those inner pulses that are impulses that are coming through you. And if you need support with this is like my job. I've done it so many times, and it's not, no one can push you into anything that you don't want to do, and I'm not that pushy, but I do help to underscore for you, how long have you been unhappy and how much longer do you want to stay there? And you know what the next step is, but you're not taking it. And that's what's going to keep you in this unhappy mode. And at the same time, the universe has a tendency to just keep making it more painful and more painful and more painful until you take that next bold step. Okay? All right, let's go on to a little bit of chapter 7. It's called The Consistency of the Kingdom. Let me just check something here. We're all good? Good. Okay. The creative power of both God and his creations is limitless, but it is not in reciprocal relationship. You do communicate fully with God as he does with you. This is an ongoing process in which you share, and because you share it, you are inspired to create like God. But in creation, you are not in reciprocal relation to God, because he created you, but you did not create him. We have already stated that only in this respect your creative power differs from his. Even in this world, there is a parallel. Parents give birth to their children, but children do not give birth to their parents. They do, however, give birth to their children, and thus birth as their parents do. So I think Christ wants to make this distinction for a couple of reasons. Number one, we are a product of God's creation. We are a creation of God. And because of that, we are assigned the task of creating like God. And so the communication we have with God is reciprocal. We can receive communication with God, and we can communicate with God. We can deliver our questions, our pleas, our prayers, our whatever we're asking for. We can have open communication with God. But we are given the power to create as God has created us, but it's not reciprocal that we created God. It's important to understand this so that there is a higher authority over you. And when I use the word authority, what I mean to say is that there is a higher intelligence. There is an energy field. There is a body out there that is the source of all things, that has created all things. And it knows a little bit more than you do. Not just a little bit, it knows a lot more than you do. So in this sense, this is what I mean by a higher authority over you. And also, the source is love. This source is pouring out unconditional love. Just as if you had a creation, you would love that creation as well, unconditionally. So this is what's meant by a reciprocal relationship in terms of communication, but not in terms of creation. Okay, I'm going to keep going here. If you created God and He created you, the kingdom could not increase through its own creative thought. Creation would therefore be limited, and you would not be co-creators with God. As God's creative thought proceeds from Him to you, so must your creative thoughts proceed from you to your creations. In this way only can all creative power extend outward. God's accomplishments are not yours, but yours are like His. He created the sonship, and you increase it. You have the power to add to the kingdom, but not to add to the creator of the kingdom. We're being reminded and encouraged once again that we create as God created, as God continues to create. And there is unlimitedness in this. The power of God is unlimited, and that exists within us, so that we need to begin to understand how we can create unlimitedness in our own creations. Imagine that. You should start thinking about that. You claim this power when you have become wholly vigilant for God and the kingdom. By accepting this power as yours, you have learned to be what you are. Your creations belong in you, as you belong in God. You are part of God, as your sons are part of His sons. To create is to love. Love extends outward simply because it cannot be contained. Being limitless, it does not stop. It creates forever, but not in time. God's creations have always been, because He has always been. Your creations have always been, because you can create only as He creates. Eternity is yours because He created you eternal. I'm going to leave it there because I know that you're going to be able to rewind and go back and listen to that again. And I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to, find this video on your phone and put it in your earbuds and just listen to that section there where I'm going through the introduction of chapter 7. That you are here as a child of God and have the unlimited power to create unlimited things in your world. And right now you might feel, frustrated that this hasn't been like that so far. But you haven't really been taught that. You have forgotten who you are. You have been taught only limitation. You have been taught over and over again to stop and to sit down and be quiet and don't say that, and constantly, and in some ways knowing that you need to fit into a social environment, and you need that social environment so you can feel secure and you can feel safe. But at a certain point in your spiritual development, you're going to feel the need and the desire to separate yourself, from all of those things that are limiting you. And you already know what those are. And this is how I help, this is how I work with women who are under a tremendous amount of limitation they feel, and they can feel it, and it's really eating them up inside, but they don't see what steps they can take to do anything about it. And so they stay stuck in this limited state for a very, very long time. And it's bad for your health. It causes you to age. You get snippy and angry, and your relationships begin to suffer, and you withdraw within. But I want to share with you that there are spiritual solutions to every problem that faces you in these days. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up here. I promised you the last thing I was going to do was to let you know that I've kind of hit the reset button on my coaching and energy healing practice. I've created 3 videos that you can watch on my website for free. It's a free training, and it's called What is Life Coaching and How Does It Work? And I thought this would be good because there's a lot of coaching out there. I'm really grateful for that. I'm someone who feels like everyone should have a coach because the benefits of it are amazing. But a lot of people have misperceptions of what coaching is. And there's a difference between various types of coaching. There's a difference between coaching and therapy, and there's a difference between coaching and consulting. So I go through all of that. And I also explain what being an energy healer is and what a healer is. And some very, 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 very few healers are also coaches. And I don't know any coaches that are also healers. It's something I have under my tent. So it's highly specialized. And it's a calling. I probably have been coaching people for as long as I remember. People who are natural coaches have been natural listeners all of their lives. Okay, so I'm gonna what am I gonna do? I'm gonna leave a link to the 3 videos that you can watch on my website somewhere in this description. I'm also going to leave a link to our website called Experiencing the Course, which you can sign up for our emails. I'm going to start sending out an email reminder whenever I have new things coming out, new things dropping. And remember that I'm going to come in here every Sunday at noon Eastern Time. Today is November 15th, so I'll be here again next Sunday, and the replays are available. But it makes me feel a lot better if there's some participation for me to know that you're here. And I know the audience is going to grow because it's been designed that way already. I'm just answering a call. Okay, goodbye, everybody. Ciao.